The general election has been announced. April 25th is the date for the general public of this country to come out, vote for your representatives and elect a new parliament for the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka. Of course, the term of the 8th parliament has come to an end. In the run-up to this decisive election, as we call it, that will decide the future course of this country, we have today with us in our studios the Executive Director of PRAFREL, Rohana Hettiarachchi, to discuss on issues surrounding the election, and then especially in the run-up to the election. A very good morning, sir, and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Bendik.
Mr. Hettiarachchi, in this run-up to the general election, of course, you could expect violation of election laws. And you, as an election monitor, has been performing a well-required task over the past decade or so, even more so. Let's first start off with the March 12th movement. Was initially signed in 2015 for clean politics, of course, at the heart of the agreement. Is the March 12th movement still active, and what are the steps that PRAFREL is taking towards implementing this at the upcoming election?
Well, when we start this March 12 movement in 2015, yes, PRAFREL was fully gear up the March 12 movement. Now, after 2015, March 12 movement is not really PRAFREL. PRAFREL is a part of the March 12 movement. We also just member.
But it's a collective of
it's a collective
huge
effort.
number of civil
Exactly. Not only the civil society, again, the civil society, trade union, business community, academia, religious leaders, youth groups. There are so
political
many
leaders, are they a part of this?
Exactly. I mean, political leaders, in a sense, we have a separate group called MP Collective for Clean Politics. There are about 30 MPs, those who have signed some sort of pledge to be a clean man in their careers, in their parliamentary careers.
Okay.
So this was signed in 2016. The last 4 years, they have been working with us, and in their career, we think that they are trying to be a clean man. I mean, it's really difficult with the existing political culture. But they are somehow, I think, they are trying to manage by themselves. But you know, the upcoming elections, as you said, now we are going to revisit the March 12 criteria.
Okay.
And because in 2015, most of our criteria was quite negative. Because that was the reality at that time.
Negative as in, you know, don't elect these kind of people,
Exactly.
don't elect these kind of people.
Exactly. Now we are thinking about little positive also. I mean, still the negatives are there, but we wanted to bring in little the positive things also, and we are trying to get the endorsement from the political party again in coming March 12th at the BMICH. So we have already invited all the political party leaders. So we hope that if they are happy to be in a clean political party, they will be present at the BMICH.
When it comes to female representation in Parliament, we saw that a 25% quota was allocated for local governments, but there has not been any such positive discrimination for a parliamentary election, and we know for a fact that female representation in Sri Lanka is lacking, to say the least. So are there any positive discriminations for females to enter Parliament in the March 12th movement?
Well, March 12 movement also very keen on the women's participations. Even in fact, the one of the criteria which we have introduced, that is the women's representation and the youth representation. Actually, we have to go with the both, because the youth also now they don't have any sort of quota, even the local level.
Okay.
So we are serious about the women's and the youth both. But I think especially if you are really serious about the women's representation in the political arena, so we have to give a space not only the elected sections, but also the political party level. But you know, now there are, I mean, I have done a small research in 2012.
Okay.
The political parties, those who represent parliament, there are 6 parties doesn't have single women in their decision making bodies. According to the party registration law, but it was amended on 2009, at least there should be one women's representative.
At least one.
At least one.
That's not too much to ask.
Exactly. But even 6 political parties, those who represent parliament, doesn't have single women. So if we are serious about that, so we need to pressurize the political party. There need to be a system to give a space at that level. Then they will mobilize their people and they will pressurize their party leaders to give the nomination for women's leaders in the ground level. So we need to address the both way. We need to address the elected bodies as well as the political party level. You know, I mean, the biggest problem in this country, political party doesn't have internal democracy. So that is the big issue.
Definitely, and this is on full display right now, especially in one of the major political parties here in Sri Lanka. But of course, as an election monitor, there is only so much that PAFREL can do to establish internal party democracy. But look at the bigger picture on a national level and conducting a clean and fair election. Of course, when it comes to speaking about the nominations for the general election, the March 12th movement of course, focuses on clean politics and granting nominations to clean politicians. How far successful was it at the 2015 general election?
Well, we are not a success 100%. We may be, we can say 5%, 10%.
Okay.
But we were able to build such a big noise and big voice within the country. Now, even 2015, at least we can say there are about 5-6 candidates who were supposed to get the nominations, did not get because of this March 12 criteria, March 12 criteria as well as the March 12 movement. But I am not saying it is completely with the March 12 movement, because even the Sirasa and various other media stations also take this issue and have given a huge publicity, and it was demand by the media stations also, the people. So, in certain extent we success in 2015. Now, during last 4 years, as I said earlier, now we built this March 12 MP collective, which is in the first time in, I think, in history in Sri Lanka, even in the Asian regions.
Right.
And also, I wonder whether you can remember, we had a public platform for presidential elections.
Yes, so the discussion.
We were able to bring most of the candidates in one table, and now there are many other groups also coming with this sort of criteria. There are about new 100 MPs groups, they also coming with the criteria, the religious leaders also coming with the criteria. So we were able to start the public discussions. That is what we wanted to do. I mean, as a March 12 movement, we can't do everything, but we wanted to create that culture in the country. So I think in that sense, we are quite success.
Well, of course, restructuring the political organization of a country is no instant noodle matter.
Exactly.
So you cannot expect results in a few years, let alone a couple of months. But now this time around, what are the additions that have been done to the March 12th movement, judging from the initial draft that was made in 2015? What are the extra measures? How are you going the extra mile?
Yeah, I mean, we have had actually 2 points. I mean, it was 100 of consultations across the country. The people asking various things. For example, the education is, many people are raising the educations. But when we bring it to the professional consultations, most of the people say that the education is a fundamental things. So you can't take it as the main criteria, because I mean, in our history also, without having a proper formal education, some politicians are delivered well. So, I mean, there are so many things came in.
I think the key demand is not education, but formal education.
Exactly, yeah. So, the 2 things which we have included for the new criteria, as one is again the negative things, unfortunately, that the religious intervention, because you know, in the last 10 years or 15 years, if you look at the religious leaders also fully engaged with the politics, and they wanted to become a parliamentarian, provincial councillors and the local councillors. So I think most of the people say that it is a disaster for the religious, and they have a different role as a religious leaders. So and also we also believe that the religious leaders are above the politics. They can advise, they can come and give their opinion when the country is facing a challenging, I mean, the difficult situations, but they should not be a parliamentarian or provincial councillors or local councillors.
They shouldn't stoop down to the level of politics.
Exactly.
Because they are way higher than that.
Yeah, they should be above the politics. That is the one area where we touch on. And the second thing is the positive things, which is the capacity, capability in some sort of education side. Also, most of the people raise that because you know, maybe you are a very clean man, you are not corrupted person.
Okay.
But if you are not capable enough, because you know the parliament is the main task is the policy making, law making, controlling the finance of on behalf of the citizens. So those who are coming to the parliament, they should have some sort of capacity to do that. So that line also we include in the coming criteria. I hope that the political party will agree on that, and hopefully they will sign it in March 10th.
This March 12th movement, is it only meant for political parties and political leaders to consider when granting nominations, or are there provisions for the general public to also access certain information that you have through the March 12th movement so that they can make informed decision on who to vote for?
Of course, I think it's a very valid question you raise. I mean, what we do with the people, I mean, I can tell a lot. But I will tell you one example which we did in the last elections also. We built a scorecard.
Okay.
A scorecard for voters to assess their candidate.
Right.
So it's like we have given a space. It's like a card. I don't know whether I have it with me now. It's like card like this.
Okay.
So we have given a space here to write down the name of the political party, whatever the party you are supposed to vote, and we have given a criteria here.
Okay.
Then you can give the marks, and end of the day you can select who is the best.
Right.
Actually, the point is you don't want to use the March 12 criteria, but before you vote, you have to analyze your candidate somehow. I mean, you can take a paper and you can write down the name of the candidate, and you can build your own criteria, whatever the criteria. Because you know, even you, if you build a criteria, it should be positive towards the better politics. So you can't say I'm going to give my vote for corrupted persons.
Because voting him in would get me extra perks and privileges.
Exactly. Yeah. So we are pressurizing, we are educating, we are lobbying to the voters as well to please don't just vote, to analyze your candidate, to evaluate your candidate. I mean, we can't tell the public, okay, this candidate is
good, this is bad.
Because, for example, in the upcoming election, there will be 4,000 candidates or maybe little more.
4,000?
Yeah, it could be more than that.
Right.
So we can't judge each and every candidate, but voters are fully aware they are candidate. If you doesn't know them, you can't vote, and you are going to select your representative for next 5 years. So if we are failed to select a proper people for next 5 years, so maybe next 50 years will be finished, because whatever their decisions as a parliamentarians, whatever their policy decisions as a parliamentarians, it will affect for next 5 decades or maybe even beyond that.
It will bind the country.
Exactly. So it is really important how you are going to vote in the coming elections, whether you are voting for X party A, party B, party C, or whatever, either ruling or either oppositions. But the parliamentarians should be clean and qualified, capable people should be in the parliament. So, but I wanted to say, the voters doesn't have a choice. If the party was not able to bring a clean and capable candidate on their list, voters doesn't have a choice according to the Sri Lankan electoral system. So the prime responsibility, the main responsibility goes with the party leaders.
Right.
So in next 5 years, if we have to talk about the bond scam or this Migyana issues or any other critical corrupted issues,
Sri Lankan
airline issues, then responsibility mainly, I would like to say, the responsibilities goes with the party leaders and the party secretaries, because if they took a wrong decisions, it will affect for the whole country, and whatever the going wrong in the next 5 years, the party leaders should be responsible.
Well, when it comes to an average employment, say for example me, if I do something wrong here at News First, there is a healthy chance, a good chance that I will be suspended and probably disqualified from being employed in any of our affiliated organizations here at the Maharaja Network. But when it comes to politics, it seems like there is no disqualifying criteria, even when there is a prima facie evidence of malpractices, financial misappropriation, corruption, so on and so forth. Does Pafferel advocate for disqualifying criteria when it comes to even from the stage of the nomination list, where you could strike off a name saying, no, you have a court case against you, which has been filed by the Attorney General's Department, and that doesn't happen quite often because the Attorney General's Department cannot file a court case unless they have substantial evidence for that. Would Pafferel...
Well, actually, this is one of our first criteria in this Marshall document. But unfortunately, you know, according to the law, until we prove something, we
person
can't
is presumed innocent.
Yeah, exactly, and that is the law.
Okay.
And also, according to the culture. So, if we come up with such a criteria, then there will be a lot of allegation for even the genuine politicians. So that is our culture, because you know
people will misuse it.
Exactly. The problem is we don't have a healthy political culture. So whatever we are trying to implement, so it is not only the politicians, even in the general public. And why the politicians are corrupted? Because the entire country is corrupted, even in the voters, even the public. I mean, it's very difficult to say which area where we should touch in the first, either politicians or either public or either masses or the media. I think mainly we don't have a proper system. So then the voters has to, whatever they wanted to get it done, then they have to consult the politicians, because system is not properly run.
Correct.
So system is not properly run, then politicians has a space. So then they can manipulate, then they can miss.
So it's a vicious cycle that keeps on repeating itself.
Exactly. But the main thing, whatever, I mean, I'm saying that the entire country and entire the society has to change. But the politicians is the key, because as in your example, let's say if you're doing something wrong, it will affect only on the Maharaja groups, and maybe if you give us some wrong message, it will affect the country as well. But there is a limitations. Let's say if I am doing something wrong, it will affect for my organization, Pafferel. But if the politicians took a wrong decisions, it will affect for the whole country.
And it will affect the unborn children.
Exactly. So that is why we are very keen on the politicians, because otherwise not only the politicians, even the religious leaders, academia, business community, trade union, even the civil society. I mean, we can't say that we all are clean. I mean, we are hearing even against the civil society. We are hearing against education sector, lawyers, doctors. What is we are hearing every day through newspapers and the media. So the entire society has to be changed. But the politicians are quite serious, because they are taking decisions on behalf of us, and their decisions will affect for, as you said, the 50 years, 100 years. So at least we have to have a proper people, clean people in the parliament.
Well, Rohde Hettiarachchi, since this whole March 12th movement began, the first parliament to have feel the effect of the March 12th movement is the 8th parliament of Sri Lanka that was just dissolved. And this is a bit of food for thought, but the 8th Parliament of Sri Lanka will go down in history as one of the most unstable parliaments here in Sri Lanka. To put it into perspective, there were 2 presidents who served during the time period of that parliament, 4 prime ministers, 4 opposition leaders, and more ministers than I would want to count. So in such a backdrop, of course, there is this saying that, you know, the phoenix rises from the ashes, and through chaos, you can build up some order and good governance structure in this country. But, well, since that result has come, the March 12th movement, do you think that this time around would be more effective in granting nominations to clean politicians in the country?
I think the discussions among the public, discussions among the media, now there is such huge demand to the political parties. But I think now the most of the political parties has facing biggest challenge because they are now working as coalitions.
Right.
I mean, if they wanted to take it as a positive way also, because there is a huge demand for nominations. But the political party, because I mean, so many parties are
Contesting together.
but the number of candidacy is limited. So they have a big challenge. But using that, if the party wanted to have a clean party, party leaders, if they really using that platform, if they really want to make a difference in these elections, so with this demand and with the nomination demand, also they can decide to proper people. But you know, in most of the political party, they have a good people, they have a bad people. I mean, I'm not saying that the entire parliament is a bad. I mean, there are quality people also there. But the bad people do have more voice. And sometimes they do have a financial capacity. So political
because of their corrupt nature.
Exactly. The political party, and also according to the existing culture here, the political party do have voices.
Okay.
So they wanted to have a candidate, those who have quite big voice to address the public masses.
Right.
And they have to have a finance also. So whether they like or not, sometime they select that kind of people. Because you know, there is no public demand as such, even though we do this martial movement, we gather the people, we talk to media, but there is no such a huge demand in the ground. So political party always trying to put up a winning horse, whether good or a bad. The winning horse criteria is kind of big voice and maybe the big money. And how they tackle the voters. But unfortunately in this country we have a voters but we don't have a citizens. Mostly. I mean, there are some percentage critical thinking people, but generally, I mean, if you look at the local council elections, some areas even they do not know the candidate whether they are in, for example, in Maharagama. Maharagama is quite educated people, living in educated people, middle class people. And they were not aware the candidates are coming from Gampaha. And some of the candidates were not even can walk because they are very elderly people. So it's really unfortunate how the voters, what is the voting pattern here? What are the criteria they are thinking when they mark their ballot papers? So political parties are fully aware on this.
I mean, they capitalize on it.
They capitalize. I can tell you one example in Gampaha district in the western province in some time back. So one of the elections, the candidate was guilty about bank robber or something like that. He was in the remand and the people voted. I think he was number one. In Sabaragama province, one occasions, I think two occasions, the parliamentary elections, then again the candidate was, I mean, the allegation was the murder, and they were in jail, but they get highest number of votes. So the political parties also think, okay, this kind of people required by the people. So this is the demand. So we will give the supply. So it's completely demand and supply. So if we are demanding a better people, better candidate, political party has to consider. But unfortunately, so far we were not able to make such a huge demand. We do demand, but it is not enough for the political parties to take a decision. So that is why I am humbly request Sirasa and all other media stations that this is the best time. This is the best time. Because I think we have the present president also not really the politician. So he is also given some sort of the
benefit of the doubt by the general public.
Exactly, yeah. So we think this is the best time for us and the best parliamentary elections for us to think about this and make us huge demand to the political party and change this country. We can use this as a starting point.
Mr. Hettiarachchi, you said that there isn't enough of a voice from the general public demanding these political parties to appoint clean people into parliament. But would it be fair if I say that this is the most demand for clean politicians that we have seen in Sri Lanka since the time of independence?
Fully agree. Fully agree. The last couple of years, I think with all of us, with our effort, now we were able to make some demand. But I'm not sure whether it is enough at this point of time, because so far the response which we see, the political party where they conduct the political career, we don't see they are serious enough to be a clean politicians, even though they talk about the clean politics, but their practice last couple of years, even those who are very seriously talking clean, good governance, the behavior of them, even the leaders of some of the political parties. So it's really doubt. But as a citizens, as a civil society group, we need to continually this demand to the political party. So actually, as a martial movement, now we are trying to gathered the religious leaders,
Okay.
because they are quite powerful, and pressurize the political party, and we are trying with academia also, but unfortunately academics people also doesn't see it about this, because they also engage with the party politics. It's a really unfortunate situation, because academic people doesn't want to engage with the party politics because they have their own career. They don't want to get an extra advantage or extra positions other than their academic career.
They want to focus on that.
They want, yeah. But unfortunately, I have a very bad experience with them also some time back. I mean, whatever we try. But there are some people, some academic people also, who wanted to change this country. The religious leaders, I saw that even yesterday also with the chairman of the Elections Commission also met some religious leaders. They also very keen about the clean politics. So if we work, all of us together, academic, trade union, business community, media, artists, so those who can influence the society, those who can influence the political party, if we work such a huge demand within next, we have very short time of period, maybe next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I think certain extent we can clean up the coming elections.
In here in Sri Lanka, like you said, although we boast of a high literacy rate, the political literacy among Sri Lankans is at quite a very low level. Some areas people rely on communal groupings or segregations to get themselves elected into parliament. Of course, as PAFREL, you have been working for clean and fair elections, and we saw one of the most one of the best elections in the country that was held without any violence was the presidential election that was held last year. This time around, Rohan Hettiarachchi, we're in the final few minutes of our show. If there is one key piece of evidence that you can give the general public before they go to vote at this election, what would it be? This is your chance.
Well, I think two things I can emphasize here. One is that how you should vote. As I said, that the voters can take up, I mean, before you vote, you just take the paper and write down your candidate in your district, whatever the party you are going to vote. Just think about whether they are capable enough to represent parliament, whether they are capable enough to make a law for you, and as a policymakers, as a control your finance, and also whether they are corrupted, or whether they misuse their power during they were in the power in the past years. So you just analyze your the candidate during voting period. So this is the only chance where you get opportunity for next 5 years, because it will affect for your children, it will affect your day-to-day life. Sometimes the people doesn't aware that the political party decisions, politicians' decisions, whether it is effect for their day-to-day life, whether they are effect for their food, because they think that if we earn something, we can eat.
That's not the case.
That's not the case. The political decisions will affect our economy, will affect our agriculture, will affect our educations, will affect our day-to-day function. So, if we fail in the coming elections to select the proper people, we are losing our future, we are losing our children's future. Then you also have to think about whether you are going to Canada or whether you are going to Australia, America, whether you migrate. But this is the best country. I like to say that I have visited more than 25 countries. Still, I love my country. This is the best country which I have seen. So we only thing is we need to change the better political culture. But we have water across the country. We have trees. We have we can plant anything anywhere in the country. The good people. So everything we have, except the proper political culture.
And of course, that is why your task as an election observer and your task as a member of the civil society is one of the most important endeavors here in this country. And while wishing you the best of luck for all your activities in the run-up to this election and afterwards, we would like to conclude Newsline for today as we're up with the time. Thank you very much to all our viewers out there for tuning in. As Mr. Rohan Hettiarachchi did mention, vote wisely, vote right, select your candidate carefully, as he will be drafting laws, he will be drafting policies and deciding on how your life will pan out for the next 5 years and making decisions that will affect your children in the next generation. Thank you very much for tuning in. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Charlene Benedict. Take care and God bless.
Newsfirst, Newsline.